Hey guys, I just thought I'd make a couple of videos for you for your understanding of the inference topic. I'm calling this video a basics video, however it really takes us right up to merit, and you all need to get the basics right to be able to get merit and to be able to get excellence. So I think it's a video for all. First thing I just want to cover is how Turnitin works. You don't get to see this, but I do, and this particular student has a 35% match, and if I click this button it shows you the exact words that match with the student that this person's obviously worked in tandem with. And I can click over here, and I can see that this student is matched with 5 students, and in particular this student has a 35%. So I can click through here and find out who that student is, and it's very, very powerful. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. When you come to write your report, you need to write it individually, otherwise Turnitin will reveal whose you have worked in tandem with. If that happens, you create a lot of stress for me. And essentially for Mrs. Stickland, I send it off to her, and she has to do a full report and essentially report to NZQA about the cheating that's gone on. So please write your own reports, and we'll have no problems with plagiarism. By the way, 35% is not hugely alarming. This person's most probably used the exemplar or the exemplars. I suppose after 35% I start to do an investigation as to where, or start clicking around finding out where they have got their information from, and you know, if it's their own writing or if it's come from some of the exemplars. I do want you to help each other in the internal, because that's where the learning comes from. I don't want you to copy from each other, but if you need to get help from someone, you're welcome to get help from others or from myself, clarify things, but when it comes to writing, they must be your own words. I hope that's clear enough. Second point, I've marked 20 of yours, and the average length was about 900 words. Some a bit more, some a bit less, and there are a few of you that got high merits, if not excellence, on the 900 word count limit, 800 to 900 word count limit. There are a few that wrote a few more, like 1300 up to 1500, and there was one particular that was an excellence at 1500 words. My point being is, you don't have to write a lot to get excellence. It's quality over quantity. Some people wrote 1400 and it's barely achieved. So yeah, quality is what I'm after. The last point I just want to make about Turnitin is, or the basics here is, if you don't write your name on the report that you submit for your internal, then I won't know whose it is until I've finished marking, and that's the way I want it to be. I don't want to have any what's the word, subconscious knowledge of who's I'm marking, or any what should we say, teacher privilege or anything like that. I want to mark it anonymously so that I'm actually looking at the words, not looking at whose I'm marking. So as long as you don't write your name at the top or at the bottom, I won't know who's you're marking. It'll come to me anonymously. I'll mark it, and then I'll click on show me the names of, you know, once I've given the grades out, I'll be able to see who's got what grade, similar time to when you will see your grade. Right, that being said, let's get into it. First point I want to make is, in the introduction, somewhere you must talk about the population that you're going to infer about. Now, obviously in the exemplar, because this came up 2 or 3 times, this idea of the population of interest is not that clear, because 3 people made this mistake. It says the population of interest are those who are interested in pay gaps between occupations with degrees and occupants without degrees. Now, that's not true. The population is the group of people that you want to infer about, not those who are interested in the pay gaps. So please don't let that make that mistake. Can you please write the population I will, maybe not of interest, but the population I will, or not I because it's first person, the population this report will predict or infer about is, in this case, New Zealanders with and without degrees. Another point here is, remember I told you earlier on in the internal that you have to say what is the difference in central tendency, or what is the difference in the median or mean between your two categories. This person's written whether. Please just write what is the difference. We'll both be happy then. Thanks. A minor point here is we don't write abbreviations, particularly apostrophes, with formal writing. We write both males and females do not have a normal distribution, not don't. Minor point. Okay, on to shift and center. This applies to all of us, bar about one student. And notice that they've put the numbers in quite nicely and they've used the right units. In fact, units were done particularly poorly across the board. By the way, this is income per week. Most people forgot to say that, income per week. And the point I want to make here is you can turn this into a percentage. So the median for people with a degree is $537. The median for people without a degree is $500. There's a $37 difference. And this person said slightly higher, which, yeah, that's good, but it's always subjective as to whether it's high or slightly higher or much higher. You can turn it into a percentage easily. 37 out of the lower of the two. 37 out of 500. You'd have to use a calculator, but you can turn this into how much what the percentage increase is. And I love it. If you're not sure about that, Google how to do a percentage increase and work that out and put that into your report. It just makes it sound a lot more professional and a relative increase rather than just saying it's $37 higher, which is true, but is that a big number or a small number? And it's different for different contexts. Just jumping down to the unusual comment. Often the two things you can comment on are gaps in the data or outliers. A lot of people there's a mixed bag of people. You don't have to comment on unusual features if there are none. Just don't write about them. Don't say there are none. Just don't say anything. In this instance, you'd probably comment that there are 4 larger values in the male section that exceed the maximum income for females. And then people have gone on and said that it could be an incorrect data entry. Well, if you do a bit of research, you'll find that these are realistic figures. And that's what I'm encouraging here. If you're going to justify why, if they're incorrect data entries or if they're realistic figures, you need a little bit of research there to justify which way. And don't say it could be incorrect data entry or it could be realistic figures that are, make a decision, don't sit on the fence. It's either one or the other. Right, on to the conclusion. I reckon a third or maybe a half of you at least have talked about I cannot make the call. Now, that making the call idea is a year 11 concept when we haven't got the tools to do a formal inference. So I'd encourage you to, well, the first thing is that you can make the call. You do 1,000 resamples, and the call is the median income for those having a degree is between $10 less and $285 more. That's the call. So you can make a call. So then go along and say I can't make the call is actually contradicting itself. Now, we use this for an informal inference, making the call. This is a formal inference. So rather than saying I cannot make the call, I'd like you to say I cannot claim that males have a higher income than females, rather than making this business of making the call. And it applies to quite a number of us, where 0 is included in the confidence interval. In a similar vein, this person said, it is possible that we may not be able to make the call about the difference in the medians. Now, that's incorrect because this person has a positive confidence interval, 61 to 289, and the whole concept of doing a bootstrapping is to consider whether those two medians could swap around. And in this instance, because it's quite conservative, guys, when you do 1,000 resamples with replacement, you get quite a wide interval of where you think that true difference might be. You remove the top 2.5%, the bottom 2.5%, and you get this interval. And as long as this bottom value is 1 or higher, you can make the call. We're not making the call at the moment, but we can make an inference that the difference in medians would be a positive difference, not one negative and one positive. So just because this bottom number gets close to 0, there's still enough statistical evidence to say that there's a positive difference in medians, and make sure you include the context. Also in the conclusion, some of you did a great job of reporting back who your population was about, and this person in particular. Therefore, we cannot conclude that there is a significant difference in the median weekly income for New Zealanders with a degree and New Zealanders without a degree. I really like that, and quite a few number of us didn't put the population in the conclusion, which you must do. You don't have to talk about back in the population, actually just refer to the population, whoever that might be. Again, another minor point, instead of the number 0, use the word zero. I saw that a few times. Try to shorten up sentences where possible, and don't start with a we, because that's first person. Again, units was pretty appalling across the board. This is well done. As 0 is included, here's what I was talking about before. As 0 is included in the bootstrap confidence interval, we cannot conclude that there is a difference. That is true. We can, or as some people said, we cannot make the call. This is better. We cannot conclude that there is and I've just said, positive difference. Include the word positive. That there is a positive difference in the median income between those with a degree and those without a degree. And that'll do for my first video. My next video is going to be about removing outliers, whether we should or shouldn't do it. Sample sizes, does it matter if they're uneven? And then the magical statistical insight, which you all need to know about for excellence.